Welcome to the workshop on early signs of dyslexia with Komal Sharma and Kritika Thareja. Before proceeding further, I would like to request all the parents to take a quick online self-developmental screening dropped in the chat box to get a better understanding of a child's growth and development. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Komal Sharma.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kritika Thareja.
So we are from e-learning department of Moms Believe. Currently, I am heading the e-learning vertical, and today we are going to present we are going to discuss about early signs of dyslexia. So I am assuming that you have heard this term in various platforms and all, but let's discuss it and let's make it an interactive session, right? So I'm sharing my screen. So to start with, what is dyslexia? So it is one of the terms which we used under learning disabilities or learning difficulties. Earlier, it used to be like kind of kind of like if the child is not able to read properly, the child is not able to write. So sometimes I have often heard teachers, school administration people, and parents using this term like generally. So today's workshops objective is to make you understand that exactly when can you kind of put the child under red flag, and when you can actually after the screening you can know that the child is having this learning difficulty. So what is dyslexia? Dyslexia is mainly a reading problem. So what is exactly a reading problem? So when the child, how does it, how the whole thing starts? So you will see the early signs right from when the child is starting to learn language. When the child is not able to kind of make sentences, the child is not able to understand spoken language, the child is not able to blend the sounds. So to be honest, when we talk about early signs, so you have to be very careful, even as a preschool parents, preschool teachers. So when the child starts showing you issues with, even when they are singing rhymes and the child is not able to even blend sounds even in a rhyme or in a song, so those are actually early signs. So rhyming words, not able to identify rhyming words, not able to blend the sounds, not able to understand the sounds perfectly and able to remember it. So those are early signs. So you can actually start looking for those signs. Another thing is that, so when we have these red flags and we look for these early signs, we are not in a hurry to label the child as being having dyslexia or something. Is just that red flags. My kind of if there are teachers in this workshop, so don't be in a hurry to tag a child. So start with the intervention first. So that's the main objective. If we understand the early signs, our role should be to provide the intervention first and not to tag the child. These terms are for understanding, not for tagging. Nobody wants to be tagged. So my request, let's understand this particular term, let's understand the red flags, but don't be in a hurry to tag the child. Okay. So what is dyslexia? So dyslexia refers to, basically, it's a language-based learning disability and refers to cluster of symptoms, which we will be talking about. And they have difficulty with specific language skills, particularly reading. As I said, it's mainly a reading issue. Students with dyslexia usually experience difficulty with other languages as well. So that's the reason they get an accommodation of doing one language. So they get exemption from school. If they want, they can do only one language. So as they have issues in reading, you can imagine they will definitely have issues with their spellings and even their written expressions. It's definitely not a physical problem. That's the reason most of the time parents are confused. They come up with, ma'am, this child knows this, that, but when it comes to reading, like, no, there are, so like, no, always he complains of stomach ache or there are tantrums, because definitely we will not be able to understand what the child, what is going inside the child's brain, right? So it is definitely not a physical problem, but definitely it is a neurological difficulty with the brain. So uh, the basic rule is, if the child is not able to understand the reading part, the words, the sentences through phonological way, and there is a phonological processing, then definitely, and repeatedly you have tried all the ways, you have tried to make your lesson interesting in every possible way, but somehow the child is not able to get the sounds, not able to blend the sounds, not able to discriminate the sounds, so then definitely those are the red flags. So if there are parents, educators in this particular workshop, this is basically not exactly what goes inside their brain, but there was a research which was done, and this is how the kids could interpret, that this is how we perceive the text sometimes. So they can see words imposed over other words, they can see wavy lines, all those things, but you may feel that then it must be related to their eyesight, but this is not, again I'm saying, this is not a physical problem. Sometimes they can have proper, they don't have any issues with vision, and still they can feel that the words are dancing, the lines are distorted, they're not able to see the words properly and clearly. So this is how, and one is seeing and one is perceiving. So what you see, and then your brain gives the signal that what is this word, how do you pronounce it, and what is the meaning of it. So there is a disconnect over there. So the brain is less efficient at recognizing letters, symbols, matching them to sounds, and outputting the answers. So for example, even you will see they will have issues, for example, if there is a letter B. So this is, what is it? It's the grapheme, right? And what's the sound of it? It's B. It's a consonant, simple sound, B. So they will have difficulty matching the grapheme with the phoneme. And this is their major disconnect area. And again, you will see these kids having issues if it is a transition. For example, you have taught the kid uppercase alphabet B, and when you will be teaching this lowercase b, they will have problem in the transition, and they start facing trouble when you introduce even later on the cursive handwriting. So try, if the child is already showing the red flags, you know that child is under that criteria. Maybe the child may have a learning issue. So try to teach in just one way only. Don't be in a hurry to teach cursive. It's just an advice. If you can avoid, try, just keep it to print only. So sometimes they learn how to read from the print, but they have difficulty reading a cursive handwriting. So as teachers, when you're writing on the board, maybe the child may be comfortable reading print, but not cursive. So that is also one thing which you have to keep in mind. So maybe you may feel, oh, the child can't read even this simple sentence, but the same thing, if you will present in print, then the child will be able to read it. Confusing similar looking letters and words, as I just said. So they struggle with all these symbols and image, and what is it? No, it is about all these are like coding, it's decoding. What is reading? It's decoding, right? So every time if you that's the whole reason, lowercase, uppercase, please give them enough time to teach one, either lowercase first or uppercase first, and then practice, and then do the transition to the next one, because in print also we need uppercase and lowercase, so that's mandatory to learn. But please give enough time to the child. So while they are learning all these, they definitely show issues with reversals, and which are called mirror images. So these similar looking alphabets you can clearly see. So they face issue, and not only in English, they may show this thing even in mathematics. So sometimes they write five as like in a reverse image. Most of the kids write 2 like this. So but another thing, all the kids who are just like in nursery, right, around 50% of kids show reversals in the beginning stage. So don't tag them as being dyslexic. And we do not generally kind of tag a kid with this particular thing that the child is having learning disability till they turn 6 or 7. So we assume like the child is showing some kind of initial issues, and the child will be able to understand with enough practice and right intervention. So don't be in a hurry if you're if your toddler, if you're nursery going kid, or preschooler is showing mirror images. I know there is a lot of material available, there are a lot of videos available on internet, so don't be in a hurry to tag the child. That is just the brain is learning the right side, the left side, the top, the bottom. So just show patience and show different ways of learning, instead of just tagging the child or being anxious about it. Oh my god, my child has started showing dyslexia sign or something like that. Please don't do that. Wait till the child turns 6 and give them enough opportunities and material to explore. So this may even so those who are already identified have reached grade 2, and they may read like was and as saw, how as who. Even sometimes they even change the meaning, change the word altogether. For example, instead of home, they may read it as house. Yeah. So while reading, they generally skip all these suffixes. Like if there is a plural, they may not say houses. If it is written houses, they may just read it as house. Most of the times they skip plurals, they skip articles, they skip as I said, it happens in plurals, it happens in past forms. Like if it is written adjusted, they may read it as just adjust. That's how they perceive the word, and they are not able to see the other part of the word. So they generally read the base word. Mixing up the sequence of letters, this happen often, like while writing, so especially you get to know even this is just not the way they're reading it. They are even this sometimes when they're writing, they will skip the alphabet, or they will just reverse it. Instead of writing does, they may write it as does. So they may insert, they may extra e, or omitting e. E is the most favorite kind of a thing with them. So if it is plain, as in plane, so they may just write plan, not plain with the e, right? Or if there is just plan, they may insert extra e. So these are the signs. Not recognizing the same word. So they have issues with their visual memory. Like for example, on an average, every day kids learn on an average, they learn around between 20 to 50 new words, depending on they are in which grade. So they are not able to remember those words, and reading is basically based on your visual memory. If they are not able to scan the word properly, it will not go in their visual memory, and if it will not go properly in their visual memory, they will not be able to retrieve it next time. Struggling to spell homophones, this is absolutely no for them. It takes a lot of time to teach them there and there. C and C. So all the homophones, because they have learned one way, and now you're changing it based on the context, based on the meaning, and then they are oh my god, another this thing. So another very important thing as educators and parents you must know, kids do not have very good verbal skills. They may face challenges, but they will not be able to verbalize it, right? You as adults have to reach out to them. What is it? What is troubling you? How are you able to perceive it? Is there any way I can help you out? If you will make them verbalize their difficulties, you will be in a better position to help them. Yeah, so instead of just checking them, my suggestion, just reach out to them, teach them from the beginning that wherever you are feeling an issue right now, just reach out, like tell us, so that we know and we are able to help you. So in my whole this thing recently, like, because this is a online platform I have started, so online school is happening, the children are not able to connect the way they were able to connect with their class teachers. So you will see this particular thing when they are in anxiety because they are not able to understand this much text and the words and the alphabet. They start sweating, their hands start sweating. So these are the signs where you can, like, no, kind of, when you are just, like, no, dealing with the child, you can just gently pat their, like, no, back, check, hold their hands, like, no, we are there together. This, you will get to know their hands are generally sweaty when they are in anxiety. So they just take it on themselves, like, no, oh my God, I'm not able to do it, because there are others in the class who are able to do it, right? So they start feeling bad about it, but they do not know how to verbalize it. Yeah, so it's very, very important for you as parents and teachers to make them understand that you are with them. You are not judging them. You're not all the time, like, no, putting them under that scanner, okay, why you're not able to do or something. Just like have that bond where they can discuss things with you, where they can tell you their issues, like, no, oh, I'm not able to perceive this particular thing. So what I do with my kids is I make them write the, like, to copy the word. Like, for example, most of the time double vowel words are the tricky ones, right? So what I do with them is I make them write it, and then I ask them to identify their struggle area. So what they do is they write this particular thing with a different color, or they bold it so that they can scan it in that form, and we together know that this can be a tricky part of the word. Yeah, so we are together in this thing. Yeah, so definitely there is a struggle. That's the reason, like, no, they there is this term which is called dyslexia, right? So just help them out. Knowing science is important, but the attitude should be to help, not to tag. This is the reason I'm repeating this thing again and again. Struggling to spell homophones, difficulty copying. So you can imagine if my eyes are, see, I'm looking at something and the whole image is inverted, and I don't know spelling so thoroughly. So I'm kind of dependent on my copying skill. So that's the reason you will always see they are the last ones to submit their assignments. They are the last ones with lot of spelling mistakes, and their work will be so shabby. Like, no, the teachers generally, like, they just, like, frown on in front of them, or they will, like, what kind of a work is this? So please try not to do that. As parents and as educators, they're just learning. We are adults, right? We can't expect perfection from them, right? So they do not know how to write the, like, no, date properly. So they will write heading over here, then they will write some text with no punctuation. They have issues with punctuations. So if you know, so if the child submits the report that the child is having learning disability, learning difficulty, so then they are exempted from spelling mistakes. Yeah, and I'll be telling you certain things which, as a teacher, as parent, how you can help them. Please understand they don't want to be difficult, and generally they are tagged as lazy. Oh, he doesn't want to write, she always has some issues, or she's just throwing tantrums. No kid wants to be like that, right? And it cannot happen, like, no. So a lot of parents or teachers come to me and they say, oh, ma'am, he's just being lazy. So when I check the record, so there was a complaint from the previous class teacher? Yes. There was a complaint from the, like, no, even the grade 1 teacher? Yes. then why nobody helped the child? Yeah, everyone is just like judging the child, everyone is just like showing that the mistakes of the child, but nobody, it means there was a pattern. Dyslexia will not happen suddenly in grade 8. Dyslexia will not happen suddenly in grade 4. It is right there from nursery stage. And that's the reason there is a kind of like, if you start the intervention early, sometimes they are able to cope up with the things, and they know the strategies, and they are able to do better. But if the child will be identified in grade 8, there is like, what will you be able to do with the child then? You can give them like strategies, the other things, but still the child has a lot of curriculum pressure as well to deal with. Yeah, so just be careful on these things. The only mantra is early the better. So I told you, even you can look for these signs when your child is not able to pick up rhymes. The child is not able to tell you the story, even a 5-line story in a sequence. The child is not able to blend the sounds even in a song, which is not a threatening thing, right? It is still a joyful thing, and still the child is facing issues. It means the child is showing red flags right when the child is in preschool. So as teachers, as parents, please be alert, but don't be in a hurry to tag. Slower written output, logical. If the child is not able to perceive the letters properly, always struggling with the spacing, the commas, the full stops, all the stuff, they definitely are not able to copy and submit their assignments on time. Dyslexia is basically related to your phonemes and phonics, right? A poor ability with phonological skills is one of the most important identifiers. Okay, so sometimes the child is able to read properly, the child is able to do everything, the phonics are fine, child is able to spell, and the child is only showing issues with all those kind of these things. Like, so this is mainly a reversal thing, or the not able to put the gaps in between, not able to follow the pattern. So this is mostly majorly the visual perception is involved in it. So the child needs more support with the visual perception part. So this is how they sometimes see WORD, and it's a very, very interesting exercise. Whenever you are able to identify that, okay, whenever I'm saying the child is just repeating and not able to say it, so just try this thing. You are saying WORD and hear them how they repeat it, how they are able to memorize it, or it's called auditory memory, when you're just not showing the word and just speaking different alphabets of the word. So WORD, not even we are not even trying any phonics over here. So WORD, so the child will see how they change the order. So this is, then you will understand this is how they actually hear, and they struggle so much to make a meaning out of it. Manipulating sounds in your head, like the parents, if your kids are in nursery, KG, you will see this often, or your class teachers who are in nursery, who are right now dealing with nursery, KG. Like, if you will give them all these exercises, like, okay, guys, just kind of change the last sound of the thing, and let's see what it will become. Like hat. Okay, next one. So the other will say ham, right? So they can make different combinations. But kids who have issue, they will not be able to do that. So if you will ask them to just memorize even that thing without a visual input, so they may miss even the last part, the beginning part, the middle part. Most of the times it is the either the beginning part or the middle part, because when you say act, so they hear at the end, so they are still able to remember the last sound, but the previous sounds, they just they are not able to remember. That's the reason they take a lot of time in learning spellings. So So if we are talking about spellings, there has to be a sequence. I can't be spelling like, no, if the moment I'm going to change the order of this, it will be wrong spelling, right? So, but this is how they process it auditorily. This is how they sometimes process it visually. So this is a big challenge for them. Sound discrimination, as I told you, they have issues with I and E sounds because I says E and E short vowel sounds say A. So it becomes difficult for them. Like how is it possible? Like no, I sounds like E and all those stuff. So it is like it is for them. It is like a puzzle. For them, it is like a mathematics thing. Every time they're trying to put a code over there, and it is still not sounding the way it should sound, or they're not able to read it properly, or they're not able to spell it properly. As I told you, rhyming, that's the red flag. Kids who have reading issues, kids who have, I actually like do not like to use this word dyslexia, because sometimes I feel like, no, oh, some kid may get tagged somewhere, and that's something which we should avoid. So help the kids, right? So as I told you, right from your preschool days, you can see these signs. They have difficulty in finding out the rhyming words, and they cannot play with sounds. Like, okay, so when we just like sit and like do this rhyming thing just to have fun, they are not able to do that. They are not able to find similar patterns. They are not able to find similar sounding words. They're not able to blend them together. Phoneme isolation. So they will have issues like, for example, if you are giving them a word like flag, right? So flag is one syllable word, right? Syllables are, just to tell you the term syllable. So like if my colleague Kritika is there, so Kritika. So when we say the word, how many beats are there when you say the word? Those are syllables. So when I say flag is a one syllable word. But how do we do it phonetically? What we do is fl is one sound and ag is a word family. So together, and the way you say it is flag in one go. There is no beat in this. So they have issues like segmenting these. So that's the reason, like, they are not able to identify which is the beginning sound, which is the ending sound, which should be the middle sound. So same way, potato, right? So how many syllables are there? Potato. So 3 are there. So they have difficulty with doing syllabification. They have issues with multisyllabic words. So these are their struggle areas. So when we do all these games and all, so when we tell them the phonemes and they have to blend them together to make a word, they face difficulty. And you can see through these pictures how they like auditorily and sometimes visually how they just like reverse it. You are saying specific, what they are hearing is specific. And because they have heard it as specific, you will see every time this word will come, they will say it Pacific only. This is how they just like scan it, and then it is difficult to like sometimes just change it through repeated practice, by being alert on those words. We are able to do that, but be careful when you are talking to them, when you are teaching them, especially language. You have to go slow. You should have to show a lot of patience. You have to give them enough time to practice. Okay, so Kritika will be discussing about how, so I spoke to you about like how phonics becomes a major issue and the visual processing part of it. Same way, how auditory processing is also one area where we need to like kind of pay attention to in terms of when we are talking about red flags.
So talking about auditory processing, it is basically what we hear and how much are we able to process it. So basically, the kids who are actually dealing with auditory processing deficits, they have genuine problems with listening. So they again and again they ask us to repeat the instructions. So the instructions should be really short and crisp while giving it to them. Next, I will be talking about yeah. So it generally means that students who are struggling with the auditory processing deficits, they have they are not able to focus on one important sound. If a teacher is talking in a very noisy classroom, they are not able to identify the sound of teacher. They are more focused on the noisy background. They have a problem in remembering what they have heard, and also yes, they have issues in remembering the order of sounds and the words. So they have issues in remembering the months, the days, and yeah, like the verbal sequential memory. They have a poor recall of timetable, months, or the days of the week and year. They also, like Komal ma'am also discussed, they have problems in learning the spellings of words, and they are not able to sequence them in problem in a order. So if like the WORD word was talked about, they spell it as WROD. And also, yes, they're distracted by a background noise where the auditory processing deficits are likely to have, they're not able to pick a very important noise like discussed. They have a difficulty in identifying that what the teacher is saying in a noisy background. They'll not be able to focus. They have issues in note taking. The struggle they have when a teacher is dictating something or reading something in front of them, they have issues in writing, and also discriminating the sound words with E and I. So they are not able to discriminate between 70 and 17. So they have issues in that. Yeah. Handing over to Komal ma'am.
So as I told you, like a basic red flag is when you are trying your best and still they are not able to get the sounds, they are not able to blend the sounds, they are not able to read through phonics. So then another, that's one thing that so that your child is able to identify the sounds, the child is able to blend the sounds, but the child is still showing those mirror images. Child is not able to, like, kind of for example, it is this can be B, but this is not B for the child. This is not B for the child. This is like, no, if this is like, no, somewhere or tilted image, then it is not B for the child. It means that child is showing issues with visual perception. The child may show even issues with, for example, the in the book it was written as like, no, bad. The child will read is at dab. And BD reversal is the most common thing. So things like when you have to do that spot the difference thing, there are similar looking words, so they will have issues over there. Common areas of difficulties which you see, like as I said, visual discrimination. They are not able to, like, kind of figure out where, like, okay, there is a change, that the left and right side has changed or the direction has changed. Visual closure, for example, like sometimes it is so surprising that if you will ask the child what is like missing in this, the child will not be able to tell you that another eye is missing. They're not able to close it. And so like this is a very basic example for preschoolers and all, but in a higher grade, like, when you say, like, for example, like okay, you have written the whole thing and that you just want the child to, like, kind of like there is something missing over here, you will leave one blank, they're not able to close it. So whole part relationships, they will have issues with making diagrams, the graphs, all these become like difficult for them. So Kritika, would you like to talk about hand dominance, because that's very important part.
Really. Okay, so hand dominance is something, the preference of using one hand over the another for doing basic gross motor skills or fine motor skills, majorly writing, or maybe using your hands for catching the ball or throwing the ball. So this is why hand dominance is being talked about. The dominant hand is not really a choice by the child. It is a conscious decision that a child makes. The major role is of the individual's brain to choose which hand is the dominant one. Parents should never try to switch the child's dominant hand from one to the another, because it is from the roots of the brain. So if right-handed people, the left hand hemisphere is the dominant one, and for the left-handed people, the right hemisphere is the dominant one. So when we try, if it is tried to change the hand, the in the hand dominance, if the parents try to change it, it can lead to the mirror images and all what Komal ma'am discussed.
Absolutely. So that you have to be careful about, not like look for your look for the preferences whenever your child is like taking out the hand for grabbing the sipper, how the child is holding the glass, because they will use their dominant hand for that. But when it comes to writing, like generally parents don't pay attention over there. When it comes to writing, they just like straight away put the crayon in their right hand. So that's not the right way. Please first check for the signs that that child is using which hand for like picking things, throwing things, pulling things, pushing things. So it means that that hand has more strength. Yeah. So please take care of these things. Now we are open for questions. If you have any questions, please ask us. So we have 10 minutes actually, and if after that we will not be able to take your questions, please write your email to us or drop a message. We'll get back to you.
Ma'am, we have a question. Yeah. Ma'am, from Lubna. Lubna, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is Lubna. I'm from Abu Dhabi. Very nice of all of you. You explained too much nicely the dyslexia and all the problems which I want that someone know what my daughter have. And mashallah, you know everything about the dyslexia. I just want to know what's your strategy to treat such kind of students, and what's your charges about that? And in your experience, like how many months? I know it's not be covered in a month or in a year, but what's your normal experience? That my daughter is in year 5. She's 10-year-old, and she's clinically diagnosed with dyslexia. How you will cover all this procedure? Can you also elaborate this one, please?
Okay, ma'am, I'm really sorry. Some part I missed. The voice was not clear. Is Gargi there? If she can rephrase, like, no, she can tell me exactly what ma'am asked, because I'm really sorry. I couldn't hear the whole thing. Okay, so ma'am, so whatever I could make out from that thing. So you want to know the strategies and like some kind of timeline. You want to know like what are the strategies which we use, and generally what is the timeline?
Yes, I want to know that.
Sure. So ma'am, as I said, like we need look for basically like there's red signs and all, and it is not that like whatever we have discussed that the child will exhibit each and every area, right? It is not necessary. There are certain strength areas, there are certain weak areas. So right, for example, yeah, so like your child is still like you mentioned
year 5.
5-year-old, right?
Yeah. No, 10 years old, but in the year 5.
Okay, so your child is already 10. So like, for example, like the child has issues with reading. So what are the major things which we really need to do, right? When it comes to curriculum, when it comes to education. So the child has to be a fluent reader. That's the first major thing which we want, right? So first, the strategy is to make the child a fluent reader. So the strategies which we use, if the child is showing that already clinically diagnosed as having dyslexia, child is not able to read through phonics, showing like difficulty in spelling. So we have US-based reading programs and writing programs, so which we use for like which are scientifically proven, and there's based on proper data. And other thing is like, ma'am, switch to sight words. So what the approach is, like if the child is not able to read through phonics, it is still like it is not a kind of a like, oh my god, we are helpless, what to do. So the child can learn through sight word approach. And then there are other techniques also, which are one of the techniques which I mentioned, that how we make the child remember the thing. There are a lot of drills which we do, and the most important part is the screening. Like we have to see that your child is reading up to which level. Like right now, if she's 10-year-old, she should be in grade 5. if a grade 5 child is reading at whether the child is reading at KG level, grade 1 level, grade 2 level. So there is a graded reading thing up to the like grade level. Like for example, your child should be reading at least up to at least should be fluent up to grade 2 level by now, because otherwise she will have issues in comprehension, and which will lead to she will face issues in content knowledge, even with the other things which she's doing right now. Okay, now second question was about timeline. So ma'am, generally with the strategies and depending on how the child is able to cope up, if there is a regular intervention given, a 10-year-old kid generally starts showing improvement in 2 months, which is like the first stage. And in 6 up to 6 months to 1 year, the child is able to at least know the strategies. Okay, these are my challenge areas or struggle areas, and which strategies I need to use. So once they are conscious about their challenges, this is what they learn that this is my challenge area and how I can still do it. For example, if the child is not able to read properly, then there are different texts which we provide, there are different materials which we provide. We are generally at kind of in connect with the school counselor, because your child is already identified. Then we tell them how to modify their reading text and how to help the child with the spelling strategies and written expression.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a question from Jeenu Finson. She is asking that her child is having difficulty in copying from board or screen. How can we help?
Okay, so definitely it's not that as I told you, when we talk about dyslexia, they generally, you may sometimes feel that the child is not able to see only. So as we go for regular checkups, health checkups, it's mandatory for all the parents and teachers to either advise the other parents, or as parents you should first take your child for the eye checkup. First thing is to go for eye checkup. If the child doesn't have any number or any issue with the power, then the other thing is we have to see right from the scratch point, copying from the board is far, right? Near the copying from a far object or from a distance. So there are strategies where you can use. No need to start with sentences and the whole page. So the step one is first to try with concrete objects. If the child is able to even see left, right, top, bottom, corner of the page, top left of the page, top right of the page, if the child is showing issues over there as well, it means that the child has issues with visual perception, and we really need to do intervention over there.
Chalaj, can we unmute Nirmal?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Nirmala.
Good afternoon. Actually, I'm from Dubai. You said the dyslexia signs are having reversals of PB, whatever it is, okay? But it can be due to bilingual as well, right? Because the child is, it can be due to bilingual, because for example, Arabic, the child is an Arabic child.
Yeah.
They will write it in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And we will write it, so that can be due to bilingual as well, right?
Absolutely, ma'am. But over there so there is an environmental factor involved, right? So
Yeah.
if the child is not showing those signs in Arabic, then it's absolute. So then the child doesn't have issue.
Yeah, but even for the French kids, when they write this thing, they will write with end letter will be E, because they're so that it is not the signs of dyslexia.
Then clinically, ma'am, it will not be diagnosed as that. No, so the see, it's a language based disorder that doesn't, and as per the rules, they are supposed to do one language, right? So they can choose their own native language as well. You must know CBSE allows them to choose even Punjabi, Gujarati.
I'm sorry.
Well.
I'm sorry. I'm in an international school.
Yeah.
This thing is, the medium is English, and it's an IB school, so they have to go for all the things and everything, and English is a main language there. So,
ma'am,
of course, they can choose options for the second language. The
Yeah.
first language is English. So they
yes,
have to go through that.
absolutely. And then, ma'am, in IB they have this ESL thing, right? So they
Yeah.
will go through ESL.
Yeah, that the English as a second language, right?
Correct. So they will do ESL. They will not. So
Okay.
because so that then it will not be diagnosed as dyslexia then.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We have a question from Idara. She is asking that what method can she apply to find the core cause of dyslexia? And number second is, can we clearly say that dyslexia is language based?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I can speak to the parent, what's the name? So I need to know, like, no, when they are saying science, are they asking about a particular age group? Now, Gargi, if you can unmute.
Idara, can you please? Jalaj, can we unmute her?
Mr. Jalaj, please unmute her because I need to know the specific details because it's a general question. Okay, so age is 2. And what is 190, ma'am?
It's 2 to 10.
So at the age of 2, the child is still at the age of like if this is the correct thing, or please unmute yourself and like.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Yes, hello,
Sorry
ma'am.
about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, can we be little specific about the question?
Okay, I wanted to know the core causes of dyslexia because I'm handling a student 2 to 9. I'm actually a special ed teacher.
Okay,
So,
so you're
yeah.
a special ed teacher and you want to know the causes of dyslexia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so ma'am, if you are a special educator, you must have some background about the whole theories and everything, right? It's
Yes, I have.
yes, it's a neurological based disability, right? Sometimes there are some studies which says that it can be genetics, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of
yeah.
like somebody is having it in the family and earlier it was not diagnosed or something, because these are new things, right? Which we are
Yes, ma'am.
exploring. So it may run in the family, and another thing is like there are other factors also, like as ma'am said, if it is a second language for them and they are struggling with 2 languages, it can be environmental sometimes, and then it can also because of the child is had some jerk or some accident, or because of some medical condition also. And you must know, like kids who have ADHD also like show signs of dyslexia later on.
Yes.
Because of the concentration issue. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Clearly answered. All right.
Any other questions?
Suraya,
We are running out of time now.
We have our last question. Suraya Munir is asking, is it advised to introduce dyslexia fronts at early childhood?
Is it advisable to use what?
Early childhood.
So as I told you, it's important to know the red flags. It's important to understand the signs, early signs, but that gives you a scope for intervention, right? Yeah, so first do intervention and then try to tag the child. So like for example, I'll give you my own personal this thing. Like this child came to me, he's in grade 2, and like the report says he has dyslexia. When I started working with the child, he just started like he came, and it was like the report suggested, because that time he was not able to read fluently, he was showing issues with like some particular like alphabets, and was not confident in spellings again, writing was all over the place and all those stuff, but he just lacked practice, that particular child. So sometimes, that's again I'm saying, sometimes clinically in that this thing, the child it come under that scale that the child is showing dyslexia, but with the right intervention and the right approach, when you have to use your visual perception strategies, when you have to use your auditory processing strategies, when you have to see like if the child is one of my kid who is diagnosed with diagnosed with dyslexia, is an auditory learner. The moment I change my strategies from visual to auditory, the child is able to do all the spellings now. Can't say 100%, but she's much better now. She has learned the techniques now. Okay, if I'm not able to visualize the thing properly, the alphabets are all dancing in front of my eyes and all. So now the strategy which we are using is auditory processing. She's a very good auditory learner. So you have to also understand what kind of a learner your child is. Most of the learners are generally visual learners, so you cannot judge a child. Like, if you're dictating something and child is not able to read, then see if he needs a visual clue or something.
So I think we have already exceeded our time limits. So if
Yes.
anyone you have any questions, you can just mail us contact@momsview.com. I have dropped it in the chat box. We'll get back to you. So thank you so much, Komal ma'am. Thank you so much, Kritika.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.